Hi and welcome to the first GSP. I'm Dom,
Sam?
and we're just going to be talking about random stuff that's been going on in the world of sport. So, first of all, I'm going to bring up Arsenal and the selling of Thomas Vermaelen.
I think overall Arsenal got a very good price for Thomas Vermaelen. £15 million for a player that's got 1 year left on his contract, getting closer to 30, 29 I believe. Sending him to a non-rival club, very little chance he'll play Arsenal in the near future. Wanted away, we don't want players like that at the club.
Well, the thing is, I've never known a more subdued atmosphere to a captain leaving Arsenal before in the last 10 years.
Or a captain leaving any club.
Like, you've had the Vieiras, you've had the Henrys, and you've had the Fabregas all left in kind of not a great way. Like, they've all been a bit sorry to see him depart, but with Vermaelen it's completely different. And also the £16 million Callum Chambers, I think 15 million of that, if that goes straight to the Chambers pot, then you've basically paid 1 million for exactly the same player, and he's what, 10 years younger?
I agree. Callum Chambers, as we know, can play right back, centre back, holding midfield, even on the right midfield. I think he's a very versatile player, can do a lot for Arsenal. I think, to be honest, Wenger sees him as the future captain of Arsenal. Don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but I think it's very key to get him playing now. I think if you get a teenager playing Champions League week in, week out, I know Koscielny and Mertesacker will be the first choice and they'll play most of the games, but with Chambers coming in, I saw him in the first two games at the Emirates Cup, and I thought he looks a really good centre back. I've never seen him at Southampton, so I was actually quite pleasantly surprised.
Well, I'd seen him at Southampton, especially when Southampton played Arsenal at a 2-2 draw at St Mary's. He was played at right back. He was convincing that day, and I think he got about 16 league games for Southampton last season.
Yeah, 16.
I think he's going to be a brilliant player for Arsenal. I think we discussed this earlier. We think Wenger missed out on a great chance to sign Gary Cahill that's now at Chelsea, and arguably the best centre back in the Premier League last season. I think
English centre back.
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt.
He makes Terry look a lot better than he actually is. But Terry's always been that way for me when he's playing next to Ricardo Carvalho.
Yeah. Alex
yeah.
made him look, I think, better than what he is. But the thing with John Terry is that he was a born leader, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, you can tell he's always the most vocal on the pitch, and I really don't like John Terry, but I like his commitment to his team. I liked him as captain of England, but as a player, I never kind of grasped him. Probably just a bit too slow for me as a centre back.
Yeah, that's the same with Adams though. Like, as from an Arsenal perspective, people call him Mr. Arsenal, but he wasn't the most gifted player in the world. But it was just that raw desire and determination and love of the badge that made him as popular as he is. But yeah, I think Wenger missed out on a trick with Cahill, and I didn't think he wanted to make the same mistake with Chambers, so he went in and got his man. I think it was smart business.
Yeah, definitely. 16 million, that's more than Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott, which came from Southampton, but I think Chambers has a bright future, especially at 19. I mean, Walcott was 16 at the time, so maybe that's why he was cheaper. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain must have been about 17, 18 when he came in. Holding midfield-wise, at Arsenal, who do you want to see?
Well, there seems to be a lot of stumbling blocks with the Carvalho deal for me. For example, he's part owned, I believe, by a insurance company or something like that. I think that generates problems, but his unbelievable wage, £5,000 a week, that's still a good wage for your normal
everyday worker,
Joe Bloggs, but for a footballer that is pennies. That's less than the likes of Francois Coquelin at Arsenal. I don't think that would be a problem at all, which is the complete opposite with Khedira. Massive wage demands that I think has angered a lot of Arsenal fans. They want to see someone come in like Alexis Sanchez has and be open with all the fans, doing his Q&A sessions, really got a buzz about playing for Arsenal. Not sure if I want to come to Arsenal, I want to earn this much money. Seems too money driven for me, Khedira.
But I think the only thing getting in the way of Khedira is Khedira. It's only him stopping himself going to Arsenal. We hear all the Arsenal fans want him. Real Madrid don't seem too upset if he leaves, but he's only got 1 year left in his contract, so that means you've got to get a low price for him. And if he doesn't leave this year, he'll leave in a free, and that's probably going to go to Bayern.
Yeah.
If he does
It's
go.
the German contingent. If he probably wants to go anywhere except Real Madrid, he wants to go to Bayern Munich, because I think Arsenal have got a chance of winning the league title this season, but I would say they have very, very slim chance of winning the Champions League, whereas Bayern Munich, on the other hand, although I fancy Real Madrid again,
Definitely.
I think Bayern Munich have got a much better chance than Arsenal this year. I think Arsenal's focus is domestic at the moment. I think the Premier League's still the best in the world, but I don't think we've got a team that's on par with either Bayern, Barca or Real Madrid this season.
It is such a regrouping at Arsenal, isn't it? I mean, the stadium funds, and now we're just getting the money in. I mean, 42.5 million spent last year on one player, and this year we've spent, 35 on Sanchez, 16 on Chambers, 3 on Ospina. I mean, you're looking towards 15. If you get another good player, if you get in a Balotelli or the Cavani that was linked, or I don't think that will happen, but if you do, then you're looking at towards £80 million spent on players.
Well, for me, Balotelli isn't an Arsene Wenger player at all. He's a proven troublemaker at both AC Milan, Inter Milan and Man City. In my opinion, his sort of nature makes people think he's a better player than he actually is. But the idea of him coming on the real cheap, sort of under £10 million, plus Joel Campbell, must raise a few eyebrows. Like, I'm not saying Joel Campbell isn't a great player for the future, but he played in a very poor Costa Rica side that massively overperformed at the World Cup, and he stood out head and shoulders above that team, which was a very average group of players.
Really average.
But he did play well and scored his goal in the 5-1 victory over Benfica.
Yeah.
But is Joel Campbell good enough player to be a striker for Arsenal this season and reliant on goals? I'm not so sure.
So I was saying in part one that I don't think Joel Campbell will get in the starting team. I think that's unquestionable. He wouldn't get in above Walcott, Sanchez. And I think if we wanted to look towards to push into the first team, you'd have to look at playing a striker. Obviously, only Giroud at the moment, and Sonogo is ish. But Joel Campbell as a striker in the Premier League, it wouldn't work. He's not big enough. He's quick, but when you've got those big centre backs and the likes of Senderos at Aston Villa, Vlar, like Shawcross, Jose Fonte, they're just gonna barge him off the ball really easily. And I think that's the difference between playing at the World Cup when you've got Joel Campbell playing against South American teams. They're not the biggest in the world, not big built, but in the Premier League it's a completely different story, isn't it? I mean, he's playing in the Greek league last year, and it's not much of a challenge. I think Olympiacos did they win the league? I think they won the league comfortably in the end. And obviously he scored a goal against Man United, but I don't think he'll push towards the start team. And I wouldn't swap him for Balotelli though, but because Balotelli's they're roughly the same age, aren't they? I think Balotelli's a few years older, but I think
Balotelli's 23.
He's I don't know. He's like you said, a bit of a troublemaker, but it's the same with Luis Suarez last year. Arsenal put in a bit of Luis Suarez. He was already a troublemaker. I mean, biting twice by this point. He was serving a ban when Arsenal made a bid for him.
Well, yeah, that's the point. We know for fact Arsenal made a bid for Luis Suarez. That wasn't gossip columns or anything else. It was a fact that Arsenal wanted to buy Luis Suarez, and a fact that they did the stupid bid of £40 million and a pound. But I'm not sure that was meant in that sort of light. But anyway, that's gone. He's a Barcelona man now, along with Thomas Vermaelen.
Eminently, yes.
But other striker targets, I still think that Arsenal might revisit the Remy deal if we run out of striker options, because I personally think Giroud gets a hard time. I think he's a good centre forward.
20 goals in all competitions last year.
Yeah, 20 plus. I think he got 22 in total, but he was massively heavily relied on last season.
Yeah.
Theo Walcott was injured. He can play up front. Podolski,
Nah, with Podolski, isn't it really?
Podolski's hit and miss. And this year he's got Sanchez that can play through that position as well. But I still think you need a man that says, I am a striker. And Remy, like Liverpool, almost got him on the real cheap, below £10 million.
I can't believe that fell through. I mean, apparently he didn't fail a medical. Well, they're saying he didn't fail a medical, but I can't see what would really get in the way. I mean, Remy flew all the way out to the USA to sign for Liverpool. Fee was agreed. It seemed like personal terms was agreed as well. I can't see what fell through. Maybe like an agent's fee or.
Well, there's rumours about Barini refusing to leave the club and all this sort of stuff, but you can't get too tied down with that sort of thing. I don't think, because you listen to enough media talk and it all gets blown up. And but you hear talks of Remy failing 4 medicals, so you'd have to get Arsenal to read more into that and find out what really is the problem. Do their own medical, not take other people's word for it. But I would like to see another striker. I can't see it being Cavani. No. 53 million last season to go to PSG.
It would be lower than that this year if he did move, but I wouldn't really want Cavani. I think it'd be a bit of a pointless signing, to be honest.
Well, a player who had a terrible season in France last year. PSG won the league comfortably, but
Zlatan stole the show, didn't he? 30 goals.
Well, I don't think Cavani's happy being second fiddle to Ibrahimovic, and he's not going to touch Ibrahimovic, let's be honest.
I think Cavani was pushed out wide quite a lot last year. I think he was pushed out to the left quite a lot, playing as a wide man, and even playing second fiddle to Luis Suarez. Like, Luis Suarez stole the show, scored 2 goals against England.
Well, let's face it, someone who was poor in the title win last year for PSG, and someone who was terrible for Uruguay in the World Cup. What from those two things makes you think, yeah, Cavani's worth a ton of money? Yeah, wages will be really expensive as well, and I'm just not sure he's the right player for Arsenal.
No, I agree with you. I don't think Cavani's the right man. I don't think Balotelli's the right man. I think Remy would be a perfect signing. I think he'd be good for squad rotation. He's quick, which fits in with the Arsenal way. Very Henry-like.
Scores goals wherever he's been. Marseille, Newcastle, QPR. Yeah. Scored goals everywhere. I just don't see what the downside is to Remy, really. Obviously, he wanted to go to Liverpool, but I think he'd want to go to Arsenal just as much. I think Arsenal, although they finished below Liverpool, I'm not even sure Liverpool will finish in the top 4 next season without Luis Suarez. Although he got the most amount of goals, obviously, in the Premier League last season, but
he got most assists as well.
Exactly. I think he makes Sturridge look like a better player than he is. I think when Liverpool look to Sturridge next season for all their goals, I think he might struggle for the answers, Sturridge, but he might have the same problem that Giroud did last year. People say Giroud can't score goals in the big games. They forget he scored against Tottenham.
Yeah, 1-0, did score against Tottenham.
Other than that, what we're looking at, so I think our back 5 for next season is obvious. And then to fill in, you've got Chambers. I was happy, to be honest, a lot of Arsenal fans were saying they were quite upset to see Jenkinson go. He's Arsenal through and through. It won't. In my opinion, there's no chance that they get to the end of this season and he goes, I love it here, I'm going to stay.
No, Jenkinson will be back next year. I think Jenkinson will be back next year, and I think Bellerin perhaps will switch to the line. I think Bellerin is too young to go out on loan now because he's 16, 17. I think Bellerin's a really good player. I think he's a good backup option. If Chambers can't play right back and Chambers needs to be in the centre back, I think Bellerin will do a job coming in at right back. So I wasn't too upset when I saw Jenkinson go.
We have our first game, the Community Shield, on our first competitive game on Sunday, the Community Shield against Manchester City. But teams play so many games nowadays. You need that squad depth, and it even gives the bigger name players a break. But we were discussing our team, and we think you've obviously got Monreal for Gibbs, you've got Koscielny and Mertesacker, which hopefully them two need to stay fit for us to have
an injury-free season would see an unbelievable amount of clean sheets. I think Szczesny, he had 16 clean
Golden Glove last year.
16 clean sheets in the Premier League, and I think if them two stay fit, I think he will do really, really well to let in a couple, more than, I don't know, about 30 goals next season.
Who would you like to see, Dom, as a replacement for Thomas Muller? We obviously need a centre back. We can't rely on Koscielny and Mertesacker, and then you've got them two, and then below them we've got other centre backs, but they're not on par.
Miguel Giroud left the other day, went to Hamburg on a permanent deal. I think Curtis Davis would be okay, but he's not Champions League quality. I think that's a key thing, and I think Nastasic linked with him in the Metro the other day. I think Nastasic is a really good buy if Man City are willing to sell him because he's young still. I think he's about 20. He's Premier League experience. So he's playing in the Champions League as well, Manchester City. And if they get in Mangala, he'll be surplus to requirements because they've got Di Michaelis as well. So I think Nastasic. But
that's one for me though. Nastasic, I'm not too sure about him. Is he a player that's going to want to come in? He's already sitting on the bench for Man City. Why would he want to come to Arsenal and sit on the bench for Arsenal? Because no matter what player we bring in, we're not bringing them in to be first choice. Because for me, the only player that we've been linked with over the summer that could be a first team player is Hummels. But who did he drop then? Did he drop Mertesacker or Koscielny? Koscielny's a better centre back, unquestionably for me. But everyone thinks Mertesacker's going to be our captain. So what do you do? Do you make Hummels captain in his first season, or
no?
But I just don't think it's likely.
I think the Hummels deal. I think there is no Hummels deal. I think he's been linked with everyone this season. I don't think he'll end up actually leaving Borussia Dortmund.
Well, I think Borussia Dortmund will shut up shop and not sell Royce or Hummels.
No, Royce next season. I think Royce will leave next season. I think he'll turn 26 next year, so he'll be a bit more experienced. I think playing in German League. I think I want to move. I don't know if it'll be to Bayern. I doubt it'll be to Bayern. Actually,
Borussia Dortmund must be getting frustrated with that Lewandowski this season.
Yeah, he's going to come back to haunt them really badly. I think letting him go on was it a free? I think it was a Bosman deal, so it's a free. That's absolutely unbelievable for a striker of his quality.
And then other than that, you've got other Premier League. I think Premier League defenders is an important factor. So for me, the players that I'd like to see Arsenal go after, I've got three. Curtis Davis, agreeing with Dom. I think he was brilliant last season. One of the reasons Hull did as well as they did.
Scored in the FA Cup final as well against Arsenal.
He's a superb centre half. Big, strong, demanding.
He's not too slow either. He's got some pace on him as well, Curtis Davis.
Well, let's remember Koscielny and Mertesacker, neither are young.
No.
Neither are that old, obviously, but you think if you've got Callum Chambers and Curtis Davis there, they might be a great centre-back partnership for years to come.
Curtis Davis is still quite older. I think Curtis Davis is whacking on 28, 29. So he's not young because he played for Birmingham before he
played for Birmingham
before he left the Hull.
Yeah, and then after that you've got for me Winston Reid from West Ham did a serious job for West Ham last season.
Yeah, really good job for West Ham.
You ask any West Ham fan, they say he's brilliant.
Yeah, he's
from New Zealand,
really
Winston
solid,
Reid.
Yeah, it's a good shout.
And then for me, the last one, Ron Vlaar, a similar player to Vermaelen in the sense of 1 year left on his contract, refusing to sign an extra deal, solid for Aston Villa, unbelievable performance at the World Cup.
Yeah.
Incredible he was.
Probably the best centre half, I'd say.
Hummels for me was the best, but he was right up there. Vlaar, he was superb. You often see him make a few meaty challenges in the Premier League, but the only thing is, a couple of Villa fans have told me that he's not that consistent. Like some games he'll be, but I'm not sure.
You don't need consistency if Ron Vlaar's going to sit on the bench.
No,
that's what you need. If he's going to come in for a midweek Carling Cup game against Wickham, you don't really care if he's consistent.
That's the thing, though. I think he would be interested in that sort of three centre backs and sort of a bit of a rotation because Mertesacker and Koscielny, same thing as Giroud.
Yeah.
They burnt out last season, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Mertesacker was out injured for a bit. Koscielny out injured for a bit. So Vermaelen got 14 starts in total last season, and I don't see Chambers getting 14 starts. Well, I see him getting starts, but I don't see him getting centre half starts.
There's two players for me in the Arsenal team who figured relatively often last season that I think are finished, and that is one that I think there's not an Arsenal fan on the planet that doesn't agree with this. Mikel Arteta.
Yeah,
His legs are gone.
Yeah, he's so slow. He's so slow.
He was brilliant at Everton for a few years. Came in, did a really good job for Arsenal. Got him relatively cheap.
Got him on deadline day as well.
Yeah.
When he came.
Yeah, really, really good Premier League player.
Yeah.
And don't know what happened to him. End of last season, sort of halfway through roughly, his legs just went apart and he's finished.
I think
Simple as that, he is finished.
I think it's because I think the rise of Ramsey might have played a part in that. I mean, Arteta was centre midfield, and if Ramsey played instead of Arteta, you'd be like, oh god, we got Ramsey playing today. I remember me and you sitting in the crowd against Arsenal versus Swansea and being like, oh god, Ramsey's on the ball. We'd give it away and we'd be effing and blinding at him. But as Ramsey's gone up, Arteta seems to have dropped back, and he's a good leader out the pitch. I expect he's very vocal. I expect he's very good.
I wouldn't mind him still at the club. I think he's another year maximum. For the second one for me, he's been a great servant for the club, and he might be a benefactor in attracting Royce, because Royce idolises him. A bit funny because one's German, one's from the Czech Republic, but Tom Rosicky, brilliant goal he scored against the scum from North London.
Oh, that volley. Oh, that was
absolutely
so
brilliant goal, but another player that's coming to the end of his career. I wouldn't like to see Santi Cazorla go. I think you're a different opinion to me on that.
If you get 15 to 18 million for Cazorla, then I'd take that hands down and get Juan Quintero from Porto.
So you think Cazorla is worth the same as Thomas Vermaelen? If we accept 15 million for Vermaelen, you think?
Yeah, you've got
Cazorla, who was
same age,
arguably our best player the season before last.
I think he was voted best player of the year actually, wasn't he? Cazorla. Yeah, I think if you get 15 to 18 million for a player of his type, once he gets old and loses his pace, I think it kind of gets a bit more wayward. I think it's like looking at Messi and thinking, will he still be playing in 5 years' time at the level he is because of his height? Once you get a bit older, you need that bit more body strength.
That is a good point, because he's quite a stocky build, and like some of the tricks he did at the Emirates Cup, his feet
are
so quick, and no one knows if he's left or right footed because he can bang with both feet.
I still don't know. I think he's left footed.
But he hits absolute bullets with both feet.
He does.
He beats people. He's clever. He can pass. He's just brilliant for me. But I wouldn't like to see Cazorla leave. But if he does leave, who are they going to bring in? There's rumours of Douglas Costa,
Quintero, I said,
Royce again, but I don't think they're going to sell. And it would be interesting to see if Royce was bought, if Wenger would do what he did with Robin van Persie and Thierry Henry and push him into the striker role and say, like, you are a striker. But
I think he's too old for that, Royce. I think he's 25 now, maybe 26. I think it's too old for him to do that. I mean, Van Persie brought in and Henry brought in. They were, quite young, or youngish, younger than Royce is now. So I doubt we'd see him move into an ST. But I think as a winger, he's unbelievable. He's one of the best left wingers in the world behind Ronaldo.
Well, for me, when you look at it, I'm coming to the end of the video now, but when you look at it, because we're coming to the end of the team, obviously, but when you look at it, left wingers, I think, you're starting day of the season, if everyone's fit, I mean, it goes Sanchez on the left, Giroud through the middle, Theo on the right. I think everyone's going to agree with that. When everybody's fit, that's going to be the front three.
That is going to be the front three.
And then behind Sanchez, you've got Chamberlain. Do you agree with that?
So as backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Podolski, he's a left winger as well, in my opinion, plays better.
Yeah.
That's where he normally plays for Arsenal, is pushed out wide. So Podolski isn't a player that's going to play third fiddle. He's not a youth player. He's not a future first team player. He's not going to accept that. So does Wenger say to Podolski this year, you are a striker, which means you've got your two left wingers in Podolski and Sanchez. Sanchez and Chamberlain. And then you have your strikers as Giroud, Podolski, Sanogo,
Campbell maybe.
Campbell. Is that what that's? Because all the great teams have four strikers. I remember at one time when Arsenal had Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Robin van Persie and Reyes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I think Well, I think if you have the Sanchez, Ozil, Walcott as like the three behind Giroud, you can rotate that to have Cazorla, Podolski, Oxlade-Chamberlain and Campbell up front, or Sonogo. I mean, I know Premier League clubs now, rotation is absolutely brilliant, but that is a front line still, that second front line is still one that can go to Norwich on a Wednesday night and pick up 3 points.
Well, that's the thing. You've got all these
Norwich, but they're relegated. But
you've got all these teams coming up. All these players coming up, who are going to make a real difference to our club, and it's exciting times at Arsenal. I think we desperately need 2 more players. I think if Arsenal go out and in the rest of the summer we buy Ron Vlaar or Curtis Davis, one of those 2.
Yep.
And Loic Remy or another one.
Yeah, I
don't think there's many more. That's the thing, though. We discuss who we want a striker, but when you actually look out on the market, the people that are available,
Remy,
at a world class level, we don't want to be bringing in someone that's subpar.
Yeah.
We want a world class striker. So we don't want someone like your Andreas Weimann or Gabriel Bonahor. We want a Boney maybe, but he's just
still not one class, is he?
Well, he's similar to Giroud as well. That's
a big lump.
But for me, you need I would even like to see Arsenal play 2 up front next season, maybe with
imagine Remy and Giroud
deeper wingers, and then still a sort of attacking midfield player behind them.
Yeah, and then maybe a new centre defence midfielder sweeping up.
Well, Carvalho
or Khedira.
Well, if you imagined Arsenal's team now, so the obvious back 5, then Khedira, Ramsey, Ozil, Sanchez, Walcott, Remy/Giroud.
Yep.
You're looking at a title-winning team for me.
You're looking at a team that could be up the very top.
Challenging for all 3. I think semi-finals would be the highest that Arsenal would achieve in the Champions League. I think we get through our draw in the Champions League easy.
Besiktas,
I think we get through that easy. Fingers crossed. You can never say with Arsenal, but we get through that relatively comfortably, and then we move on and see where we go.
We win that. You're in pot 1 for the Champions League draw, which means you can't face the Barcelona and Real Madrid in the group stage, which is great. And if you win your group, you're still not looking at a team that great for the second round.
We finished 4th. We played that play-out. But people don't forget, that's an extra 2 games that you have to play.
Yeah,
so before anyone, you compare Arsenal to who I think are going to win the league this year, Chelsea. You compare them, Chelsea to Arsenal.
3 games
Arsenal
less.
are playing Community Shield out of what they won last year. Chelsea won nothing, remember. But you've got an extra 3 games already.
Before they've even started their campaign, and then if you think like maybe a good Capital Cup run, a good FA Cup run, you're looking at probably overall in the season you can get 7 games more than your opponents.
But for me, it's an exciting time at Arsenal. You look at where we were last season. I remember us sitting around watching the first game of the season, losing
to Villa,
and then seriously looking like we weren't going to get through.
Yeah, I remember
the Champions League.
I remember all the memes on Twitter saying like RIP Arsenal season after it started, and that was all from
hashtag Wenger out. In Arsenal with Arsenal we rust, all this sort of thing. But look at it now, Wenger's saying that you keep asking me to buy more and more. He's bought 4 players already.
Oh yeah, and the season hasn't even started.
And we've got Joel Campbell, who's like a new signing.
Yeah, he does have that extra buzz, doesn't he, around the ground. Right, thanks for watching our little talk about Arsenal. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe.
Hopefully we'll talk about some other sports
next time. Maybe next time. General Sports Podcast.
Yeah, we might have to rename it. Thank you.
See ya.